My name is Julie Turney, and this is the HR Sound Off podcast show, the show created for HR and business professionals to discuss pertinent topics and trends as it relates to our professions. We're going to have amazing conversations with HR professionals from all over the world, get to learn their origin stories. How did they get into this profession? What do they love about being here? And how they want to set the record straight on that one misconception that really drives them crazy about our profession. Are you ready? I'm ready. Then let's sound off. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the HR Sound Off podcast show, brought to you live and direct from the CIPD HR conference for 2021. Oh, yes! Sucks that I'm not there. Like, you guys cannot see.
In your hometown.
In my
Julie.
hometown. In my hometown. Every year. I'm so upset that I'm not there this year, but it is what it is. I'll be back next year. So today we are talking HR tech, and we're talking about the importance of understanding happiness in the workplace. So I am joined by the amazing Matt Phelan, who is the founder of the Happiness Index. So Matt, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good, Julie. I was just reflecting. Julie and I were chatting off there that because Julie was missing being in Manchester.
Yes.
And I said it's not the content's great here. But to answer my question, I'm feeling good because it's just great conversations with seeing people in real life. Like, it's been great to meet you, Julie, virtually. And I'm a massive advocate for the hybrid working, flexible working. But there is something about seeing people in real life. And
yes.
Just so I can see two people out of my periphery having a hug. And there's something about seeing people in real life that is just beautiful, isn't it? And
it is.
So yeah, I feel topped up from all these relationships.
Yeah, it's such a shame that we've had to spend so much time apart, but it's a good thing as we start to come back together. So I can still see like lots of social distancing as you shared that video just now. You know what you're experiencing. So hopefully next year we can get more people. So Matt, how are you doing?
I'm good. We're going for a big global expansion at the Happiness Index at the moment. So I'm slightly tired because I'm working Indian hours and South American hours. So we're doing a lot of work in India at the moment and a lot of work in South America. Okay. So that's probably why I look terrible. But I obviously we talk about purpose, and purpose comes up in the Happiness Index data a lot. Because I feel like I have a purpose of what I do. I've got that energizes me.
Yeah.
Not sustainable to work the hours that I am at the moment, but I am enjoying it. So yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Julie.
Wonderful. So for our audience who may possibly be new to the Happiness Index, will you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and tell us like what is the Happiness Index and what does it do? Yeah,
so I suppose if we think back, let's go through the history. The person who coined employee engagement in 1990 was Bill Kahn.
Yes.
And if you think about employee engagement, it sort of started out as paper surveys. And then about 5, 6, 7 years ago, some really smart companies came along and then they put that online. And then you get all these sort of like employee engagement tech companies. And that was a step forward. But the problem with a lot of that stuff is you can often find a lot of employees that are highly engaged, but they're also unhappy.
Yeah.
So we were trying to understand why is that? Like, why is engagement not giving the full picture? And what we found from the data and the neuroscience and our research is that we have these things, Julie, called emotions, and work and life has kind of taught us that they're unprofessional.
Yes.
What we found for our research is it's our actually emotions that are what make us human beings and what make us so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But people have sort of ended up labeling them as negative. So to give an example, all the emotions that we experience are instinctive responses. The behavior that we take off that emotion is sometimes the bad thing. So if you're listening and let's say let's say someone in the workforce, one of your colleagues responds to you in a negative way and you emotionally feel scared of them, there is nothing wrong with that emotion. That is totally normal.
Normal.
If you then go and like do something to them that's illegal, and that's what gets labeled as like too emotional, which I've been labeled as before. That's a different thing. But experience every emotion from distaste to anger, to happiness to unhappiness. They are all emotions that can teach us stuff about what's going on. And what the happiness index does is helps business understand those emotions so they can what we call emotional intelligence at scale. So what it says on the tin is we're an employee engagement and happiness platform. And we're bringing emotions into that data. So we cover a lot of emotional data, which can be super interesting. And what we think it does with our customers is it helps them make better decisions. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. We're a platform. You can log in, you can understand how your people are feeling.
Yes. And I love the fact that you also are not just that there's a mobile application to it. So like, even as you leave work or as you're moving around, you can use this application very freely and very easily, and it can be used across organizations. So if your organization is spanned out between Europe and North America, you can get that data in real time. So just give us a little snippet of like what the platform looks like and what engaging in that with the happiness index looks like.
So the main differentiator, the first thing you'll see happiness and engagement split out. The second difference that you'll see, so at the moment globally we're seeing engagements about average,
right,
across the world, but happiness is below average.
Right.
And guess what? We have this thing called the Great Resignation going on. So what that helps you understand is it's probably a happiness issue, not an engagement issue. Whereas in the past, you might look at it and go, this is an engagement issue. You plow your resources into engagement and still the problem is there. So a lot of people have re-evaluated their lives. And once you understand why people are unhappy, you can actually change things to help retain people.
Yes.
The second thing that you will notice in the platform that's different is that it's tagged with neuroscience. So one of the biggest HR challenges is that data sits in silos.
Yes.
So you might have people in your exit surveys telling you that you've got a bullying culture. But by the time someone's left, although that's useful information, it's almost too late to find out you've got a bullying culture.
Exactly.
So we've coded the platform, we've trained our machine learning and AI with neuroscience. What that means without the buzzwords is that if you, for example, found out that well-being was an issue, you could click on well-being and you could see where that is a problem across the employee experience. Because sometimes stuff comes up in one area, like bullying in the exit survey, but then that won't have just occurred. It's not like someone gets bullied on their last day.
Exactly.
That could be
it's been happening over time.
Yeah, and then you can click on it, and then the AI runs, and it shows you across the experience, the employee experience where that may be. Then it starts to maybe go, oh, it's in this area or in this team, or it's more in that country, or it's more in this department. And as again, like Julie, have you heard the saying, if you can measure it, you can manage it?
Yes.
I hate that saying. And the reason I hate that saying is because I think it's really wrong. I think for me, and I'm a data person who's into measurement, I think it should be, and it doesn't sound as good. This is the problem. It needs to sound snappy, doesn't it? I think it should be, if you can measure it, you can better understand it. If you can better understand it, you can make better decisions.
Yes.
Which is not as snappy as if you can measure it, you can manage it.
Yes.
But I think it's way more accurate. And I think that's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to get more data. Just like the best example I could use, and you're dialing in from Barbados, how valuable a weather report is. Now, we know at some point in the year there's hurricane season and bad weather and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
Just think 200 years ago that information wasn't available. Now you start to be able to get weather reports that can help you make better decisions about whether you move, away whilst hurricane season's happening, or whether you need to batten down the hatches.
Yeah.
So you can make that
Better
intelligent.
decisions.
Yeah. So I see emotional data like weather data. It's not there to manage, because you can't manage a hurricane.
Right.
How much you want to manage a hurricane, you can't. But you can make better decisions. You can make better decisions on how you plan your life, and that's the same with emotional data within business.
Nice. So I love that analogy and I love that explanation, because you really want to be able to make better decisions. And for me, honestly, I never thought about making the separation between engagement and happiness. But as you've explained it, I do recognize that it is important, because even though employees are engaged, it does not mean that they're happy.
Totally.
And being able to kind of like filter down and figure out, well, how do I support my employees so that they can be happy and engaged, because they deserve that, really makes sense to me. So,
and Julie, let's draw out for you what happens in the extreme examples. So if you are unhappy and unengaged, your body goes into survival mode, fight or flight.
Yep.
And this is one thing that I need to call out as the happiness index. If you are happy but not engaged, as an employee, you'll be unfocused. So actually, just happiness on its own isn't any good. If you, and this is where a lot of companies are, if you are engaged but not happy, what you'll often have is a competitive culture. And sometimes people mistake a competitive culture for a thriving culture.
Yeah.
Where you might have a team of 5 salespeople that are competing against each other, rather than thinking about like, what is the best way to achieve the total sales number.
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted to pull that out is we want happy and engaged, which equals thriving culture.
Exactly.
But even as the happiness index, just happiness on its own is not enough. Both have to work together.
Exactly. Well, I'm grateful that the happiness index exists. And I wish you guys every success as you continue to build it out. So can you tell our audience like how they can interact with the happiness index?
Before I do that, Julie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What makes you happy?
Oh, lots of things make me happy. The color pink.
Yeah.
Silence, like quiet time for myself, especially like when the children are keeping a lot of noise. Like I love quiet time. I cherish my quiet time. Spending time with my mom. Those are things. Yeah, all of those are things that make me happy. Like,
so I did that because I was interested, Julie, but also obviously you were going to ask me about how people get in touch with the happiness index.
Yes.
So I want that to happen, right? But also I'm a terrible salesperson. So the reason I asked you is when you ask someone what makes them happy, they all do the same thing. Everyone smiles like you did, and everyone looks up like that.
Yeah.
So I want all the HR people on here to go to thehappinessindex.com and book a demo, right? That's what I want.
Yeah.
But you don't have the happiness index to do what me and you just did. And all I want to make the point is I want to make this as a HR tech owner.
Yes.
HR tech does not replace good human being, leadership, management, colleague, friendship, all that kind of stuff. All the stuff that the happiness index does, right? We can help you do that at scale.
Yeah.
But you don't need to pay me. You don't need to pay me to do that. So obviously when you get up to over like 100 employees and stuff, like a platform like the happiness index is great.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to do that to get to know you, but to let your people know that you can use all our research and never spend a penny with us.
There you go. And the research is sound and it's amazing. I've shared quite a bit of it in the background over the last couple years, so I really do appreciate what you do, Matt. It's amazing, and thank you so much for bringing that to the fore, because I think also as HR people, it really is important to recognize that you need to make that connection and that it's a simple thing. There's an easy and humane way to do it that doesn't involve tech. So thank you so much for sharing that. Well, now I got to ask you, like, what makes you happy, Matt?
Well, this leads into what I was going to offer for your audience, because I've written a book called Freedom to Be Happy. The first 10 people that message Julie, we're going to send a copy to. So send Julie an address that you want it sent to, and we'll send it to you for free. But the clue is in the name of my book, Freedom to Be Happy. freedom is one of the top 8 things that comes out globally, and it changes from person to person, and there's a longer list. But for me, freedom in all my relationships, like my co-founders, my colleagues, my partner, my family, like I need to come to something freely. I came on this podcast because you kindly invited me. If you told me to come on it, I wouldn't have come on it.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. Like, freedom's massive for me.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I'm an entrepreneur and all this kind of stuff. And freedom is important for everyone.
Absolutely.
But for example, like some people, clarity is more important, like in their role. I'll give you a North American example. So across the world, the number one factor for happiness is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that in yours, Julie, with your mother.
Yeah.
That's the same in every country. In Canada, it's acknowledgement. In the USA, it's clarity. Is the second one. So what that is massive to understand is sometimes people lump Canada and USA together, and they're like, oh, it's North America. Totally different.
Yeah.
It's probably linked to healthcare, isn't it? Because in America, if you haven't got clarity on your job description and your job role, and you lose your job, and your children don't get their healthcare, that is not good news. Whereas I don't know the system in Canada, but it's probably slightly different.
Yeah.
Which means that it's a bit like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It means acknowledgement can go a bit higher up in the Canadian bit. So it's a long-winded answer of saying freedom. I'm such a geek, Julie. I like to get the data in there all the time.
I totally understand it, and I definitely appreciate it. But thanks for sharing that. So tell us, what are you reading, watching, listening to right now that you think our audience will benefit from?
I think, Julie, I'm going to give a bit of a random one here.
Okay.
It's not what I'm reading, it's what I'm not reading.
Okay.
Which is, I've just got back from Amsterdam, and I didn't bring my phone or my laptop with me. And there was no way that anyone could contact me. So what am I trying to do more of is less. Okay. So all I would say is that I'm intentionally, I'm going higher quality in what I'm reading and less of it. And I'm only sharing that. So my little nugget that I want to encourage as many people to do is turn their phone off as much as they can and just go and reconnect with your friends, with your nature, all that kind of stuff. If you go away with your best friend for 2 days and you both leave your phones away, leave it. It will sound scary, but I guarantee you,
it's doable. It is definitely doable. It's funny that you said that, because I actually have, for the last maybe 2-3 years, have made an intentional. I've been very intentional about not having my phone on the weekend.
Yeah.
So I usually disconnect from my phone, especially on Sundays. If I have my phone on, maybe up to maybe 2-3 o'clock on Saturday, just in case, like, so my mom can reach me. But I still have a landline, so she can call me on that. But outside of that, I disconnect from my phone every Saturday around 4 or 5 o'clock, and I don't turn it back on, or I don't tune back into it until Monday morning.
Yeah.
And I put my phone intentionally on do not disturb every day between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m.
Yeah, I love that, Julie.
There is freedom in that.
There is freedom. And the way I like people to think about it is, whether you're thinking about your mum, your children, your family, your colleagues.
Yes.
Is the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world have worked out the dopamine you get every time that you check social, every time you check your email. You're getting a little reward all the time. Mark Zuckerberg's got billions of pounds to compete with your best friend or your child. So it's natural that you might be with your child or your mum or whatever, and you check your phone. You're doing it subconsciously, but when you're doing that, attention is coming off your mum, your child, your friend, your colleague. So I would say Mark Zuckerberg's pockets are deeper than your friends. And I don't know, you might be hanging out with Jeff Bezos. I don't know this, Julia.
Definitely not.
I
Right
might be
now, I'm
wrong.
just hanging out with you.
Yeah, cool. No, I'm definitely not in that bracket. So I think so. One thing I am reading is a book about how to have difficult conversations, because I messed up a bit of feedback recently. I tried to deliver some feedback to someone, and it just went really badly.
Okay.
Which I'll share the link. I'll share you. I can't remember the exact name of it, but that's a book I am enjoying. But
Okay.
but less and more slowly.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. What's the biggest misconception about HR that really bothers you that you want to set the record straight on right here, right now?
Yeah, most people think that I understand HR and I don't know anything about it. Because I'm not a HR professional, Julie. I'm supposed to be someone who can give the HR person better data to make better decisions. So that's a personal one. The biggest misconception that really is a red flag for me is sometimes people say, I'm a commercial HR person. And what I don't like about that is I think you can look after your employees and the best way to be really commercial and really business led is to look after your people.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote the Freedom to Be Happy, the business case for happiness. It's financially good. It's financially better to look after your people. There's a really good piece of research by Alex Edmonds. It's on my podcast, Happiness in Humans. It takes 28 years of stock market data. On average, if you invested in companies that looked after their employees better than their competitors, your stock return would be about, I think, 2.8 to 3.5% better per year over a 28-year period. So it's not 3.8 over 28 years. It's like times 28 every year. So I think sometimes people think that you've got like nice HR people that think it's about the people, and then you've got commercial HR people that will come in, they'll fire
it's about
people.
the business.
Yeah. They're all the same thing. It's like, I did the best analogy. You know, I like a crap analogy, Julie. It's that moment in The Lion King, isn't it, when Simba's talking to Mufasa about the circle of life. It's the same in business. All of this stuff's connected. Happy employees create happy customers, which means they become more loyal, they spend more money with the company, makes more profit. The only difference is whether people are talking about short term or long term. Because in the short term, and this is why companies make crap decisions all the time, in the short term, you could fire 20% of your workforce, make more profit, and then the share goes up because they go, oh look, that company made more profit, they must be a good company, let's invest more money in them, more investment comes in. In reality, what they've done is they've stunt their growth in 5 quarters time. We're seeing this in the pandemic, Julie, where people have laid off staff that they're now trying to rehire. It's happening all the time. The companies that kept their people where they could they're now rocketing because they haven't just made the short-term decision. Obviously, cash flow is cash flow. Some people have had to be made redundant because companies couldn't afford to keep them on. But the companies that have been able to ride it out are now in a position to really push forward.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to recognize, especially now that they're trying to rehire them, because the experience was so bad. The people are like, nope, not coming back there. Don't want to work for you.
Totally.
So yeah, definitely appreciate that. So thank you so much for sharing. You have survived your time in the sound booth, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Julie. I've loved it.
Joining me. This was a great conversation, and I am wishing Happiness in you and Happiness Index all the success. I will continue to follow your journey, and we'll talk off recording about how we can support each other.
In Manchester. Hopefully. Actually, scrub that. Let's talk in Barbados.
Come on over.
Virtual. What is it? What we were saying? Virtual visa. Is it called virtual visa?
Yes. The digital stay visa. Yes.
That's what I need. I need a year in Barbados.
Come on down. Come on over. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us in the sound booth today. I hope that you found this information from this episode useful. You can find me on all social media platforms at I am Julie Turney. That's I-am Julie Turney. And you can find this episode or this show on most digital platforms, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Thanks to Anchor FM and Rock Solid Entertainment for helping me to put this content together for you. And I will see you again in the next Sound Off.